The Webway is not a place. It is a wound in reality, stitched shut with lies and memory. Lyrae, Harlequin Shadowseer. Inquisitor Kael Veritas had long abandoned the illusion of peace. The galaxy was a graveyard of empires, and he had spent decades walking its tombs. But one whisper haunted him more than any demon, Xenos, or heretic: the Webway. It began with a fragment, an Eldar soulstone recovered from a shattered craft world adrift in the void. The stone pulsed with psychic residue, and within it, Kael heard a voice. Not words, but impressions, terror, awe, and a name lost to time. It sleeps beneath the halls. Do not wake it. Kael did not heed the warning. The moon of Virex was dead. No atmosphere, no life, just a crust of obsidian and the ruins of an ancient Eldar temple buried beneath its surface. Kael stood at the edge of the excavation, his breath fogging inside his rebreather, staring at the gate. It was a Webway portal, fractured, dormant, but intact. He had assembled a strike team of Deathwatch Marines, each a veteran of 100 Xenos wars. Their armor bore the scars of Tyrannid claws, orc blades, and Necron gauss fire. They were not afraid. And yet, when Lyrae arrived, even they hesitated. She emerged from a shimmering veil, her mask painted in shifting colors, her eyes unreadable, a Harlequin Shadowseer, emissary of the Laughing God. She spoke in riddles, danced instead of walked, and carried secrets like knives. You seek the halls that scream in silence. I will guide you. But know this, some doors should remain closed. Kael nodded. I intend to open it. The portal activated with a shriek of reality tearing. The team stepped through and the world changed. The Webway was not a tunnel. It was a maze of impossible geometry, a realm where time bent and space folded. The walls shimmered with psychic energy and the floor pulsed like a living thing. Kael's auspex malfunctioned, Vox signals distorted. One Marine reported seeing his own death replayed in reverse. Another claimed he heard his mother's voice, though she'd died decades ago. Lyrae danced ahead, her footsteps leaving no trace. This path was sealed before the fall, she said. Even the Inari do not tread here. They passed statues of Eldar warriors, frozen mid-scream. Their armor was fused to their flesh, their eyes wide with horror. Kael touched one, and felt a surge of emotion. Pride, fear, betrayal. They tried to seal it, Lyrae whispered, but it was already awake. After hours or days, time was meaningless. They reached a chamber unlike the rest. It was vast, circular, and silent. The walls were etched with runes that pulsed with ancient power. At its center stood a sealed vault shaped like a cocoon covered in psychic wards. Kael approached, his mind buzzing with static. The vault called to him, not with sound but with memory. He saw visions, Eldar cities burning, gods dying, stars weeping. Lyrae placed a hand on the vault. Her mask shifted to sorrow. This is not a prison. It is a tomb. And the dead do not rest easy. Kael turned to his team. Prepare the breach. The Deathwatch planted melta charges, but the vault resisted. Psychic energy lashed out, killing one Marine instantly, his body imploding into a singularity of thought. Lyrae screamed, her voice layered with 1,000 others. Kael stepped forward, placing his hand on the vault. It responded. The wards cracked. The vault opened. Inside was darkness. Not absence of light, but the presence of something else. A shape moved, fluid and shifting. It had no form, yet every form. Serpentine, avian, insectoide. It radiated hunger. Kael fell to his knees, his mind filled with names not meant for mortals. He saw the birth of the Webway, the betrayal of the Old Ones, the rise of the Necrons, and something deeper. It is one of the Ingir, Lyrae gasped. Not Necron, not God. A mistake. The creature stirred. The chamber erupted in chaos. The creature did not move, but its thoughts did. One Marine turned his bolter on himself, laughing. Another began reciting Eldar poetry before his skull split open. Kael tried to speak, but his voice was stolen. He saw his own memories unraveling, his childhood, his training, his faith, all consumed. Lyrae danced, her mask flickering between joy and terror. She summoned illusions, trying to distract the creature. It ignored her. The vault pulsed. The Webway screamed. Kael grabbed Lyrae. We need to seal it. She nodded. But it is awake now. It remembers. They fled. The Webway twisted around them, trying to trap them in loops of time. Kael saw himself entering the portal again and again. Lyrae sang a song of endings, her voice cutting through the distortion. They reached the gate. Kael activated the recall beacon. The portal flared, and they were thrown back into real space. Virex was silent. The portal collapsed behind them, sealing the Webway corridor once more. But Kale was changed. His eyes glowed faintly. His thoughts echoed with alien truths. He no longer dreamed, he remembered. Lyrae vanished into the shadows, her mask forever altered. And beneath the silent halls of the Webway, the sleeper dreamed again. The Webway was collapsing. Not physically, its structure remained intact. A lattice of impossible corridors and psychic threads, but something deeper was unraveling. The vault had been opened. The creature stirred, and reality itself began to bleed. Kale Veritas stood at the edge of the breach, his breath shallow, his thoughts no longer his own. The Deathwatch Marines around him were silent, their eyes scanning the chamber, bolters raised. But they were not ready. No one could be. The creature inside the vault did not move. It did not roar or lash out. It simply existed. And that was enough. Kale saw it again, its form shifting with every glance. One moment it was serpentine, scales glistening with starlight. The next it was a mass of wings and eyes, each blinking in a different rhythm. Then it was nothing at all, a void that devoured meaning. He tried to speak, but his voice was gone. Not stolen, forgotten. He turned to Lyrae, the Harlequin Shadowseer. Her mask flickering between joy and terror, she was chanting. Her voice layered with 1,000 others, each speaking a different truth. "This is not a creature," she said. "It is a concept, a hunger, a memory that feeds." The vault pulsed. The runes etched into its surface flared with psychic energy, then dimmed. One of the Marines, Brother Garen, stepped forward, his bolter trembling in his hands. "I see it," he whispered. "I see everything." Kale reached for him, but it was too late. Garen's body convulsed, his armor cracking as his form twisted. He screamed, not in pain but in revelation. His voice echoed through the chamber, repeating a phrase in an unknown tongue. Then he was gone, not dead, not destroyed, gone. The remaining Marines tightened their formation. Kale forced himself to stand, his mind reeling. He activated his psychic dampeners, but they barely held. The creature's presence was not psychic, it was deeper, older. It resonated with the fabric of reality. Lyrae danced around the vault, her movements erratic, her mask now frozen in a grimace. "It was sealed before the fall," she said. "The Old Ones feared it. The Eldar forgot it. The Drukhari deny it. But it remembers." Kale turned to her. "What is it?" She paused, her eyes meeting his. "It is one of the Ingir, not Necron." "Not God, a mistake." The word echoed in Kale's mind. Ingir. He had heard it before in forbidden texts, in the ravings of mad psychers. Entities older than the Necrons, born of the void, rejected by reality itself. The Necrons had warred with them. The Citan had consumed them. But some had escaped, and one had slept beneath the Webway. Kyle knew they had to escape. The vault was open and the creature was waking. But the Webway was no longer stable. The corridors twisted, folding in on themselves. Time fractured. One Marine reported seeing his own birth. Another claimed he had aged a century in seconds. Kale activated the recall beacon. Nothing happened. Lyrae approached him, her mask now blank. "We are too deep. The Webway does not want us to leave." Kale clenched his fists. "Then we fight." They moved through the corridors, retracing their steps. But the path was different. The walls pulsed with light, then darkness. Shadows moved without source. Voices whispered from the stone. Kale saw visions. Eldar cities burning, gods dying, stars weeping. He saw the fall, not as tragedy, but as design. The creature had fed on their excess, their emotion, their psychic brilliance. It had shaped their doom. He stumbled, falling to his knees. Lyrae helped him up, her touch cold. "You are changing," she said. Kale looked at his hands. They were glowing faintly, veins pulsing with light. His thoughts were no longer linear. He remembered things he had never experienced. He saw the birth of the Webway, the betrayal of the Old Ones, the rise of the Necrons. He saw the creature's name. It was not a word. It was a feeling. A hunger, a need. They reached a chamber, a nexus point. The portal shimmered in the distance, unstable but present. Kale activated the beacon again. This time it responded. But the creature followed. It did not move through space. It moved through thought. The Marines screamed, their minds unraveling. One turned his bolter on Kale. Another began reciting Eldar poetry before his skull split open. Lerai summoned illusions trying to distract the creature. She danced, her mask flickering with light. The creature paused, confused. Kale seized the moment. He activated the portal, pulling Lerai with him. They were thrown into real space, landing hard on the surface of Virex. The portal collapsed behind them, sealing the Webway corridor once more. But Kale was changed. His eyes glowed with knowledge not meant for mortals. His thoughts echoed with alien truths. He no longer dreamed, he remembered. Lerai vanished into the shadows, her mask forever altered. And somewhere deep beneath the silent halls of the Webway, the sleeper dreamed again. The stars above Virex were cold and distant, but Kale Veritas no longer saw them as he once had. He stood alone on the moon's surface, the collapsed Webway portal behind him, the silence pressing in like a tomb. The Death Watch were gone. Lerai had vanished, and Kale was no longer whole. He stared at his reflection in the polished surface of his gauntlet. His eyes shimmered with faint light, not from any external source, but from within. He no longer dreamed. He remembered. Not his own memories, but those of others, of beings long dead, of empires long crumbled, of horrors that had never been born yet still existed. The creature had touched him. He had not been consumed like the others. Not broken, but marked, changed. The Inquisition did not believe him. When he returned to Terra, he was met with suspicion. His report was sealed, his mind probed by sanctioned psychers. They found no corruption, no taint of chaos, but they found something else, something they could not name. A resonance, a frequency that did not belong. He was placed under observation, restricted, silenced, but Kale did not stop. He began to write, not reports but visions, diagrams of impossible machines, maps of the Webway that no Eldar had ever seen, equations that bent the laws of physics. He spoke in tongues not of demons but of something older, something deeper. He called it the Sleeper. And it was waking. Lerai watched from the shadows. She had returned to the Black Library, her mask forever altered. The Harlequins did not speak of what she had seen. They danced around it, their performances now tinged with sorrow and dread. The laughing god, it was said, had turned his gaze away. She knew the truth. The creature was not a god. It was not a demon. It was not even alive in the way mortals understood. It was a concept, a hunger, a wound in reality that fed on memory, on emotion, on thought itself. And Kale had become its herald. Across the galaxy, psychers began to dream of a shifting shape, a void with eyes, a song with no sound. Some went mad, others vanished. A few began to draw the same symbols Kale had etched into his cell walls. The Adeptus Astra Telepathica issued a quiet alert. The Ordo Xenos began to investigate. The Eldar grew restless. The Inari whispered of a new death. The Drukhari laughed nervously. And the Webway trembled. Kale escaped. No one knew how. One day he was in his cell. The next it was empty. No signs of breach. No psychic residue. Just a single phrase carved into the wall. It remembers. Lerai found him months later, on a dead world near the Eye of Terror. He was standing in a crater surrounded by corpses, humans, Xenos, even a demon host, all slain without a weapon. Kale was humming. She approached him, her mask blank. "You should not be here," she said. Kale turned to her. His eyes were stars. "It's already here," he replied. "It never left." She raised her hand, a psychic blade forming in her palm, but she did not strike. Because she saw it too. In the sky above, the stars were shifting, not moving, but rearranging, forming patterns, symbols, a language older than time. The creature was not coming. It was speaking. Kyle smiled. "It dreams again," and the galaxy listened. If the Webway has whispered to you today, don't let the silence end here. Smash that like button if you felt the dread creeping in. Subscribe and turn on notifications, so you don't miss the next descent into madness. Drop a comment below. What do you think sleeps beneath the vault? And if you want more Warhammer 40k horror, share this video with your squad. Shoo, the sleeper dreams again, and we're just getting started.